Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the SimNFL show. Real talk about fake sports. I am your host and commissioner. You can call me Pierce. Today is part 4, our final part of our division preview series for the 2026 season over at SimSN. If you're unfamiliar, come check us out on the website and on Discord. We would love to have you. So our final two divisions for this division preview series are the AFC East and the NFC South. We'll go over each team in detail as we've been doing the past 3 weeks. And then we're going to cap off today's show with a full season prediction for 2026. That's records for every team, playoff teams, and then a look at the championship games, the final four, the top 4 teams, and the Super Bowl. So we will have that prediction at the end, but for now we're going to jump right into the AFC East, starting with the Miami Dolphins. No surprise, the defending division champions, who were very busy this offseason, bringing in Russell Crowe from Cincinnati, Jose Sola from Tennessee, and William Redmond from Kansas City. So 3 players of 85 plus overall. So huge push for Miami in this brief championship window to make the most of it and make their Super Bowl run. Also drafted Matt Hoskins as a 64 overall, 22 years old. Great selection there. Did have to move on from some players, specifically some younger players as part of these trades. Notably young Kyle Grant and Tanner Mickens, both traded to Cincinnati as part of the Crowe trade. Robinson Terrell moved to Tennessee in exchange for Jose Sola. And then a number of other prime age players about replacement level. So Greg Sellers, 73 overall, moved to New England. A pair of 70 and 68 overall linebackers traded to Minnesota. William Alexander to Kansas City. And then letting David Helgeson walk in free agency. So the core of the roster very much intact, but adding a handful of big-name starters on that defense, and then moving on from some younger players. Again, very clearly, the Dolphins have defined their championship window. It is now, and they are ready to compete at the highest levels in this next couple of seasons. As for progressions, they did get a great boost from Lawrence Sanders, who's now a 79 overall. Just more great wide receiver depth over there in Miami. And then a number of great lineman progressions with Anderson, Kolodny, and Magia all going +4. And the former two now members of that +85 overall group as well. And then David Genter, still the best kicker by overall in the league. He's now a 93 overall, still improving at the age of 33. Surprisingly few regressions. Did have Jacob Wiseman and Ernest McCoy taking a couple steps back. McCoy is a tough bit of luck as he's only 29 this year. But generally staying on top of things as far as avoiding regressions go, especially compared to some of the other top teams that we've seen in previous installments of this show. And anytime you're talking about the Dolphins, you have to talk about Dean Hammond's 97 throw power, 96 accuracy, 92 IQ, 87 speed. Just the prototype pocket passer in this league. That works out to an 88 overall, but absolutely phenomenal talent. Highest throw power in the league, easily. Also got a call the defensive line. Lucas is a 94. Now with Jose Sola as an 86 and Utesh 76 on the other end of the line. Very, very strong unit there up front defensively. If I had to pick a weakness, I'd talk about outside linebacker. They have Wiseman, who's 76. That's pretty much it. They're playing a 62 overall inside linebacker right now at the other outside spot. Now, Sandoval is only 24, so it's not like he's terrible, mostly, but he is young and out of position, so it could be a weakness at that one exact spot. Otherwise, crazy strong roster looking at the starters. And can anyone really stop this passing attack? We talked about Hammonds and his receivers. White's an 87, Sanders is a 79. And then they have two great young talents, Hatley and Ejiofor, who are both low 70s. Hatley's 23, Ejiofor is 24. And then they now have Ramirez, their tight end, who's an 87. So just skill stacked upon talent, stacked upon skill at the wide receiver and tight end positions. It's going to be a lot for anyone to handle. Prediction, I think this team is a conference champion. I think they're going to breeze through the AFC East, rack up multiple playoff wins. Could very well be a tussle once again between them and Denver for the AFC crown, and I think they have the best chance ever to finally unseat the Broncos as AFC champion. Moving on now, we have the New York Jets, who were very, very busy this offseason. Biggest acquisition bringing in Jesse Knoll in a trade with Dallas. Also bringing a couple of linebackers in free agency, and then from the Cleveland Browns, and then Martin Sears from Kansas City. And then drafting a handful of A overalls whose exact attributes we still don't have, but Dallas Stanker and Jake Kendricks at cornerback and Jonathan Perry at tight end. A bunch of very excellent 23-year-olds who are going to make that team a lot better in the long run, but a lot to look forward to in the short run as well, starting with Jesse Knoll. Trenton Adam moved to the Browns as part of that Diallo trade. Noah Pillar was traded to Tennessee, but those are the only departures. No major ones for 70 or plus overall to note there. And then a bit lower on the progressions, but that great offensive line continuing to get better. Barber, McNeil, Mousseau all progressing well. And then Kalich on the defensive side and Roger Swimmer at cornerback is a 76 overall now. For regressions, we do see offensive tackle Haim Costa, once the highest overall player in the sim, now an 82 overall after going -3. And then a couple of big -5s, David DeGirolamo and Chong Tracy. Yes, that is his first and last name in that order, going -5. So big steps back there. Again, a big loss for Tracy as well, being only 29, and regressing to a 64 overall. Strength for the Jets absolutely is that offensive line. Costa is still an 82, even if he's regressing. Mousseau, 87. Castro, 71. McNeil, 91. Offensive guard. Barber's an 83. And then they have Ludwig, who's a great run-blocking tight end. He has an 80 run-blocking score. Decent pass blocker, too, but particularly when you're looking at the offensive line and what they can do running the ball. Basically 6 good offensive linemen that can line up on any given play. Weaker, again, would have to call out linebacker, Viola, 74, Hawkins, 71, Pacheco, 70. Not the strongest unit. Again, linebackers, excellent linebackers, hard to come by, especially 3 or 4 or more at a time, but do have to call out that unit. Biggest question, is Knoll going to give this offense that needed second dimension? Amazing line, a couple of strong running backs. Is Knoll going to give them the air presence they need to really bring a balanced and dynamic offense to this AFC East? I think this team is going to be alive in the wild card race. I don't think they're going to challenge the Dolphins for the division, but I think they're going to be a strong second place and a playoff contender for the rest of the conference to deal with. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills, who added Joseph Jones in free agency and had some great draft picks in Drew Howell and Vernon Mack, both 60-plus overall. They did move on from both of their former starting safeties, moving them to the Kansas City Chiefs. So Adam Greer and Earl Lewis, both no longer with the team. They'll need to find some new answers at safety this year. As for those who stayed on the team, Yusei Asensio did go +4. He's up to a 75, though we'll talk about him in a second. Donald Kelly improved. Ron Cubbage went +5. He's now age 33 and an 85 overall. We could be looking at a venerable situation here, because that's a great progression for anyone, let alone a 32-year-old. Judging by, that was his progression in his age 32 season, when most players are regressing. And even quarterbacks are usually getting about to their peak. But he went +5. Younger tackle Marquez Allen also went +5. And then a pair of quarterbacks, Alvin Anan and Hugo Hernandez, progressing well. 83 and 77 for them, both at age 28. On the regression side, we see Jan Summers going -2, as well as Steven DiNardo and Andrew Basque. So still worthy of roster spots, still worthy of starting for the most part. But DiNardo and Basque are 33. It's expected if your name isn't Ron Covich. Strength of the Bills team, again, love that cornerback group. Anand has been playing well above his overall statistically, and his overall is now an 83. Hernandez, 77. Guthrie is 69 at age 26, so it's a solid group there. Defensive line, not quite as much. DiNardo's 71. Axelrod's 65. McCants, 69. Again, some youth there. But still numbers on the lower side when you compare to the rest of the league and the rest of the team. So my question, they brought in Luke Trahan, who's a very different archetype. Is he going to compete with Asensio in the quarterback job, or do they more like Trahan for his speed? So just to break it down, Asensio, 89s in throw power and accuracy. Some Bills fans might say he doesn't show it on the field, but those are his measurables. 69 football IQ. Trahan's only a 69 throw power, 71 accuracy, 63 IQ. But he has 97 speed, which is the same as Brogdon does. So is Trahan going to be a quarterback prospect? Are they going to try to go all in on the run compared to last year when they ran Asensio in the pocket and almost exclusively passed? Or are they going to mix Trahan into the backfield and have two guys with 97 speed running the ball? Or is Trahan just going to back Asensio up, and is Asensio going to get one more try? We shall see. And maybe that's camp battle. Maybe they've already decided, and we just don't know yet. I think third place is a reasonable guess for this team. I think they've still got a lot of growing to do. I think Asensio is probably not the answer, so this is probably his last hurrah in Buffalo. Although I thought that last year when they didn't pick up his extension and then they brought him on a cheap deal. So they're not paying the world for him, but they did keep him on the team. We will see what that means for their long-term plans going forward. And then finally, for the AFC East, we have the New England Patriots, who brought in Rodney LaBelle from San Francisco, one of the premier linebackers in the league, and Gregory Sellers from their division rival, the Dolphins. And then they drafted Michael Oliveros in the top 10. I know a lot of teams were scared off by his potential, but he's a 65 overall quarterback, which they desperately needed a quarterback. So it's, I think, a good move there. Minor departures, they did, after picking up Lions' option for over $12 million, they traded him to Washington. But Lions, they moved on from Lions officially now, and Zavala was traded to Jacksonville as well. But it very much seems like it's going to be Oliveros' show there in New England. Some great progressions, mostly on the offensive line, with Roosevelt Penn now an 87 overall guard. And then a handful of now high 70s defenders in Rojas, Hashimoto, and Puello. On the regression side, that defensive secondary, Huey Ash is regressing. Oh, he peaked at 88, though, so he's got a lot of great years still ahead of him. Johnny Nguyen is a 75 overall at age 33. Again, still absolutely worth the starting spot, but starting to show his age a little bit more as he gets to the tail end of his career. Strengths for the Patriots, two excellent safeties. Nguyen is a 75, even though he's on the way down. Puello is a 75 on the way up. But both of them are very capable starters for right now. Weaknesses, quarterback's going to be a question. They have Oliveros, obviously, 65 overall rookie. Schuel is a 67 overall quarterback at age 29. He is currently listed as number 2 on their depth chart. And then inside linebacker, they've got Arwood. He's a 72 overall at prime age, 30. So not much to phone home about there. And the question is, can this defensive secondary hang together despite the regressions and keep them all in games? We covered them already, the two 75 overall safeties, and then Ash, their top quarterback, is an 85. That's by far still their strongest group. Is that going to be enough to prevent other opposing offenses from scoring points and allow the Patriots to stay in the game? Is the question. But I think it's going to be an uphill battle. I think the Patriots are looking at probably a top 5 pick next year into the long season. But I think if Oliveros can get his snaps and get a good progression despite his potential, I think that might help hold some fans over while the rebuild happens. Moving now to our final division of this 4-part series, the NFC South, we are going to start with the Carolina Panthers, who were also busy trading with a lot of Midwestern teams, bringing in Hallett and Johnson from Cincinnati, John Mendenhall from the Bears, and George Lovejoy from the Browns, as well as drafting Jonathan Durant. Carolina Panthers did not have as many picks, particularly in the early rounds, as they've had in the last couple of years, but still making some great selections with the picks that they have. Similar to the Dolphins, a lot of younger, higher potential players moving on. Well, Jose Jones has F potential. I just meant in the terms that they're younger and they're still developing. But Jose Jones and Michael Neese going to Cincinnati, along with Pablo Jovel. Quang Nguyen moved to the Bears, and then Ruben Shazier being traded to the Texans for a couple of first-round picks, one of which then got flipped to the Browns for the trade for Lovejoy, picking up Michael Rogers, the kicker for the Texans as well. So a lot of movement, a lot of trades, as we have seen. The Carolina front office very willing to wheel and deal and move things around to get the players that they want on their team. As for progressions, of course, the big story is Dakota Link, up to a 78 overall, the premier young quarterback in the league, and tied for second in throw power, only to Hammonds. Russell Barnes went +4. He's an 89 overall. Don Scott's a 76. And then on the defensive line, Whitaker and Eggleston, both 80 plus as well. And Aaron Stokes is up to 90 overall with his +4. As for regressions, Paul Caruso, the multi-million-dollar man, now going down from his peak at -4. Fernando Owens, -3. And then Harris and Frazier, both of their top cornerbacks, regressing as they start into age 30 as well. So strengths, absolutely. Panthers have the top wide receiver group in the league, bar none. Barnes is an 89, Lovejoy is an 86, and Owens is an 81. Their slot receiver is better than some teams' wide receiver 1. Absolutely phenomenal group. I gotta imagine they're going to be going 3 or more wide every single play this season. Offensive line is excellent too. 87 for Caruso and Hallett. Eggleston's an 82. Whitaker's an 80. Bagul is a 75. So very good group there as well. Again, if I'm going to be picky, we'll talk about inside linebacker. McGarrity's a 73. Weatherly is probably the best of the group. He's only a 67 now, but he's also only 23. So high ceiling there. But again, just a little bit lower in the overall in this coming year. I think Link's going to be an MVP candidate. Somehow last year he didn't even make the Pro Bowl. He missed the third quarterback slot by 1 vote in the NFC. I think to Jerome Morrison, I believe. So not even a Pro Bowler last year. This year, I think with his development and that roster, again, that line protecting him, those receivers and tight ends to throw to, I think he's going to put up an absolute monster season and lead the Panthers to great things. Specifically, I think he's going to lead them to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to win the NFC South, which they lost on tiebreakers last season. They were forced into a wild card position. I think they're going to get back into first place, win the division, win some playoff games, and make a deep run in the postseason. Moving on now to the Atlanta Falcons, the defending NFC South champions. They brought in Tim Maloney in free agency and drafted Scott Banner and Keibert Watson in the most recent draft. Also moved on from running back Wayne Hughes. But otherwise, comparatively quiet offseason for the Falcons. Big progressions, Rafael Rosario is now a 79 overall. Todd Brumlow was an 81. The defensive line, Juarez and Everett improving well. Everett went +6, which is a huge jump from another player who I think has been playing better than their overall. Brian Thompson, Oscar Reyes, also both going +5. So big numbers for the Falcons there. As for regressions, Jose Padilla, obviously weighed down by the many years on his massive contract. Went -3. Michael Fulmer, -4. That's a tough one, given what an amazing season he had last year. Carl Barzania, still many years left for him. He's an 87 overall, but did go -3. Todd Bunch, -2. And then Gregory Williams, another outstanding player that is falling surprisingly fast, but has a ways to go still. An 86 overall after going -4 last year. The strength of the Falcons is their wide receiver group. Rosario 79, Romani 75, Igwebuike 71, and then newly drafted Josh Godin 68 and only 23. So it's a deep group there. Running back, not so much. We just saw that Fulmer has regressed to a 72. Their backup running back is Galvin. He's a 59. So not the strongest, not the deepest group. Although, again, as someone who has seen what Fulmer can do and the numbers he put up last year, I'm not ruling him out just because he lost a couple of points. He was phenomenal last year, and I think he can be again, even in his age 30 season. But that is kind of the question with Padilla, Fulmer stepping back with some regressions at the top. Is the offense going to take a step back from last season? Again, they beat Carolina twice in their regular season to win the division on tiebreakers before falling to the Panthers in the playoffs. But it'll be hard to repeat that feat with the way the offense is looking. I do think Atlanta will still be in the wild card race. I think it's a second place finish for them in the South this year. Which brings us to the Saints, who brought in Charles Brown, who is still kicking it at 34 years old. They brought him in from Washington. And the Saints were probably one of the biggest buyers in free agency this offseason. Started with Michael Dyson. They gave him a massive contract. I believe it was $70 million over 5 years, $14 million AAV. So that's right up there with Cunningham and some other edge rushers. But I think he's the premier young edge rusher in the league, so absolutely deserved. Brought in a new kicker. They brought in Lauren Davis, Michael Atchison. So really filling out that roster. And then drafted Rocco Souza in the first round. And then Chris Watkins, the center as well. An excellent pickup by them in the draft. Only big departure, moving Brendan Hightower as part of that Washington trade. But as you can see, we're more than able to make up for that with Atkinson in free agency. As for progressions, Gregory Donnell was one of only a handful of players who went +7 in the offseason. So he's a 67 overall at age 24. Guards Sharkey and Miller, and then defensive linemen Munford and DePaula. DePaula is yet another player I have to call out as being already better than their attributes would suggest, and their attributes are getting much better in a hurry. He went +6, a 74 overall now. Not too many regressions, but a couple that did hit big. Brett McPhail going -4, and Arthur Madrano going -3. Madrano just got a pretty big extension. So him regressing at age 29 is tough to see, but still I think capable over there at cornerback for the Saints. Their best group is the defensive line. Mumford's an 85. McPhail, as you mentioned, is an 80. And now bringing on Dyson as a premier edge rusher. He's a 78 and soon to be into the 80s as well. So I like what I'm seeing there. Rest of the defense, maybe not so much. Davis, Eckes, and Zunbrum are all low 70s in the linebacker group. Safeties, Mabry is a 69 and Hansford is a 71. So still some improvement to be made there. But the line is good, so we like to see that. Yeah, how much and how quickly can Akwe Landrum improve from his rookie season? He was a top 10 overall pick. He completed just under 50% of his 610 passes last year, 3,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 23 interceptions. Among quarterbacks who threw at least 100 passes, he was ranked 31st in QB ranking. But he did have some clutch throws and some close games. So we will see what his sophomore season brings him and brings the Saints. I'm very much on his bandwagon. I'm excited to see what he can do. Just being honest. I think this team comes in third place. I think they've still got a lot of growing to do. I think the future is bright. It's just going to take some time to develop the guys that they have. And finally, team number 32, we're going to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who brought in Richard Surges from Kansas City. Grabbed a couple of wide receivers in free agency. Anthony Stovall was a big pickup. David George as well. Glenn Lloyd as well, all to fill out that passing game. And of course, made the big move up to number 2 to draft Travis Kingery in the draft. Some of the players they moved on from: Adrian Buchanan, part of that mega trade with Detroit. Gregory Taphorn traded to Indianapolis. And then a couple of linebackers traded to Kansas City in Stoll and Fian. So the big story, as is always the case with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, is on that offensive line. Peter Smith up to an 88 overall, and then Benton and Damian Nebel, both progressing well. Jawan Gray went +6. So he's a 70-plus outside linebacker at age 24. Myron Mahan is up to 76 as well. Another name, I think, outperforming his attributes. Max Smith did regress, such as the life of a 31-year-old running back. He's a 74 overall. DeLucia and Lopez regressing as well. But Smith is the big one there, a huge focus of the team last year. So strength, do like the defensive line with Yoakum as an 83, Zimmers a 77, Snodgrass is a 66, but definitely some strong players on that defensive line. Linebacker is mostly high 60s, low 70s. Wilkinson's a 70, Gray's a 72. And then we've got who is a 65. Question, what's the return on the Kingery investment going to be? Normally I like to keep my questions to the current season, but obviously when you move 6 draft picks, first, second, third in multiple years to move up to number 2 to take a quarterback, that's going to, of course, be the bulk of the conversation. And Kingery is going to be a rookie. He's 23. He's obviously going to be on a long leash, and they're going to give him time to develop. So we probably won't know after just this year what that return's going to be. But anyone in Tampa, that's going to be the question on everyone's minds. Not just multiple firsts, multiple upon multiple day one picks in back-to-back years. To move up and get your guy. I do love the move personally, but the focus is going to be on him for the foreseeable future. I think this team's going to be in the basement of the NFC South this year. Again, that's not necessarily where they're going to have to stay. I do like some of the things they're doing, and I think Kingery gives the fan base hope for the future and should generate some excitement, put some butts into seats, get some people talking on social media. But as a rookie, we're not going to expect too much of him. We're going to give him some time to develop. So now that we have come to the end of our 4-part series previewing each of the teams, let's take a look at the conferences. So I looked at the NFC schedule, the full league schedule, who's playing who, predicted every game, and after some tweaks and crossings out and goings back and forth, came up with the following numbers. So in the AFC, I think, again, the preeminent team is the Miami Dolphins, who I think are going to have probably the easiest time of it in their division. Pittsburgh went on a crazy winning streak at the end of last season, brought their quarterback back, I think really figured out that offense, and has a favorable schedule, so I like them in the North. Denver is Denver, and they will continue to be Denver. The AFC will continue to go through Denver until someone unseats them, or until players get old and they can't pay them anymore. And then the AFC South is going to be a fantastic race. The Jaguars put a lot of effort into bringing in a lot of offensive weapons for Howard. I think that can push that offense over the top. And then Nebel and Johnson in that 1-2 rushing attack in Houston, I think is going to get them over the hump as well. I think they'll be joined by the Chargers and the Browns in the AFC playoff picture. For those curious, the Jets do play both the Browns and the Texans this season. So I had them losing the tiebreaker in head-to-head, the Jets being the first team out of the playoffs. But this is where I have things falling. Obviously, I don't expect to have this many 2-loss teams or multiple 1-win teams. So my predictions tended toward the extreme, where the better teams win and lose, and we know things are far more chaotic when they actually play the games. But this is kind of where I see things going. I think the AFC West is going to be an absolute bloodbath. With they could easily bring 3 playoff teams. I've seen predictions where every team in that division has a winning record. I think it's going to be tough. Very, very tough. And I think I'm probably being a little pessimistic with Vegas on this one. But it hurts when you're in a division that's as stacked as they are. Just ask the Eagles. Speaking of, let's jump over to the NFC, where we have done the same thing, predicted every game. Washington winning the NFC East is nothing new. They've been the most consistent regular season team in the league. The only team to win their division every year. I think Philly can finally break through, get to a 12-win season, and maybe even beat Dallas once or twice. Dallas moving on from Jesse Knoll this offseason. I think they're going to be good, but I think they're going to struggle without that veteran QB presence. Carolina and Green Bay, both fantastic last year. I think those streaks continue. And then the Rams, I think their championship window is closing. Certainly the pocketbook is going to have to get stingy over the next couple of seasons. I still think they have one more division title in them, even with the Seattle Seahawks chasing them. I think Seattle can I think they can nab a playoff spot this year. I think Detroit can get in as well. I had this one very close between the two of them and Atlanta, with Detroit getting the number 6 seed based on a head-to-head win over Seattle, and Seattle winning head-to-head over Atlanta to clinch the final seed there. But those teams do play, and that could be a very important game for the playoff race. As far as this one, I think we have it's more have and have not. You can see it's a lot of 10 and above win teams and a lot of 5 and below win teams. This does mirror a bit what they had last season. I think Dallas is the one exception. They've got, even without a quarterback like Noel, they've got a strong supporting cast there. That is how I see things going out in the NFC, with Carolina ultimately taking the top seed. And where does that leave us at the end of the season? Not too many big surprises here, at least in terms of which teams are playing. In the AFC, I think for the first time we get a non-Denver champion. I think Miami finally pushes through with that team that they have built specifically for that purpose. In the NFC, I have Carolina besting Green Bay in the championship round. They've had some phenomenal matches the last couple of seasons. I would love to see them go head-to-head one more time in the NFC Championship. And then, for everything, for the 5th Super Bowl, I think the trophy stays in the NFC with the Carolina Panthers. This team has been on an immense upward trajectory for the last 2 seasons. Since the inception, really, with the way they built that team. And I have high hopes for them this season. These are just my guesses. We will see how the season plays out. So that is all for this edition of the SimNFL show. I do have to say our show is going on a bit of a hiatus. There'll be no new episodes for at least the next 3 weeks, as I will take a bit of a break for myself. Also, there's some IRL commitments at my work that'll be very busy in the month of October, and I'm going to need possibly some extra time. Also, news has slowed down on the SimNFL front. I know we are finally getting to the end of this offseason. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. But even as we start up the preseason, not going to be as much to report. So I may do one episode, kind of a preseason wrap-up episode at the end of week 3 of the preseason. I cannot guarantee that. So this hiatus is going to be probably 3 weeks, maybe 4 for the SimNFL show. However, in October, I am hoping to get our interview show up and going again, where I bring in users and have more of a podcast-style experience, long-form question and answer. I'm hoping to get that up and running. If I can, that will go in the usual Tuesday slot for the month of October. And then, if I can keep that going during the season, we'll bring SimNFL show back in its usual Tuesday spot, and then any future interview shows would go on Friday. So spacing things out, but also making it so that people aren't talking about games after they've already aired. So yeah, short break for me as we finish the offseason, get to the preseason, but coming back in a few weeks and hopefully bringing a new Sim interview show, which does need a name. So if you have name ideas, put them in the comments. But hope to get that started up and then possibly even run them concurrently as the 26th season gets underway. But I am signing off for now. Thank you so much, everyone, for stopping by and listening. And as I say to all users in all of our Sims, good luck and have fun.